Alright YouTube, I decided to make you a couple of Rome Total War online commentary battles. The first, I'm playing as Britannia. Many of you have asked me to do a campaign as them. I most likely will not. Just because I don't like doing campaign with the Barbarians, I do like using them online. Alright, let's take a look at my army. I've got 5 units of Chosen Swordsmen. I have 3 units of Heavy Chariots, a Barbarian Warlord, and a Light Chariot unit. I also have 4 units of Slingers and 4 units of Head Hurlers, so I'm taking full advantage of Britannia's missile strengths. My opponent, I guess fearing chariots, brought an obscene number of units of Eastern Generals. I guess it makes sense. The Eastern General is probably one of the strongest general units on the game, bar the Barbarian Warlord. Of course, I don't really think this is in keeping with CWB rules, because I believe he has more than 6 of the same unit here. But oh well, I'm not sure that I completely kept CWB either. I might have infringed on the missile rules, I'm not sure. As far as I understood it, though, you could have 8 long-range missiles, and I do not have any more than that. So, anxious to meet his cavalry since I have chariots, I am going to charge headlong into this. I've got my heavy chariots, light chariots, Barbarian Warlord, all of my chariots are charging in. Unfortunately for me, though, his guys are kind of all bunched up, and that's going to actually help his units. But not to say that they're not going to get cut down at a rather alarming rate. He did lose 2 of his units, but I've lost a good number of chariots as well. You can see chariot wheels rolling all over the battlefield. So I pull my men out, and I'm going to try and get his horsemen a little more split up before I re-engage them. I also have stones flying into the mix, so my slingers are lending support. And with 4 units of slingers concentrating their fire on all these units of Pontic cavalry, it's definitely going to take its toll. So there I end up routing pretty much the rest of his cavalry, but also for the loss of my cavalry for the most part. I kind of lose track of my cavalry later too. So now my opponent is forced into his infantry move, and I wish he had picked a little bit better army. I'm not trying to be mean, but he didn't upgrade any of his units, which is, again, kind of a noobish mistake. I don't know whether or not he's a noob, I just call those noobish mistakes. So I'm going to let my slingers stand their ground and kill as many of these bronze shields as they can, and I'm also going to move my head hurlers out to the flanks. And head hurlers are devastatingly effective against heavy infantry, so I'm going to allow them to come out here and throw their heads. So kind of a disgusting way to go into battle, carrying heads and throwing them at your opponent, but in Rome Total War, it's pretty darn effective. So here come the heads, and we're going to watch the Pontians drop. There went 16 of them. Here comes the second wave, and I took down many more, so almost 20 more. So you can see it just absolutely devastated this entire unit of bronze shields, and they're now pretty much worthless. I don't know if I put these guys on fire at will. I don't think I did, so they don't end up throwing their heads, and I end up kind of wasting them. And there my general got killed. I lost my general, which is unfortunate because there's still a lot of Pontic infantry on the field, but oh well. Not much that I can do about that at this point. Anyway, I eventually run my head hurlers out of there instead of letting them get killed. Let's take a look at the main brawl. I go ahead and let my opponent march his bronze shields up. I have a hill advantage, just slightly, so I'm going to go ahead and allow my chosen swordsmen to stand their ground. I have the druids behind them, and my men are well upgraded, and his pikemen are not. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to get his phalanx all out of line and have his men be surrounded as much as possible. So I've got head hurlers and chosen swordsmen in here, and head hurlers really aren't that bad in a melee fight. They're not great, but they're not bad. So we killed the enemy general there, which is good because I lost my general, so that'll even that. And now my opponent's units are just starting the chain route. Yeah, my opponent really should have picked a better army. If he would have brought some chariot archers and some Pontic light cavalry and stuff like that to use against my chariots, that would have made that a much more tough match for me. And then if he would have upgraded his infantry force, I would not have so easily succeeded in fighting his infantry force. So let's go ahead and fast forward and get to the end of this. I'm unleashing my slingers on his bronze shields, and that takes a heavy toll. And then I'm going to charge in from all sides on this unit and just let him have it, Barbarian style. So how in the world Pontus ever ended up fighting against the Britons, we'll never know, but their meeting was kind of bloody, to say the least. And since there's only one Pontic unit remaining, I'm just going to go ahead and charge all my men into it, even though I do go headlong into a phalanx, which is not the advisable strategy when playing as barbarians. Now, if I was really worried about my opponent's army, I could have stuck to the trees, because my units all get a bonus in the trees. So you definitely want to take advantage of the wood and snow bonus that barbarians tend to receive. So anyway, there's my troops chasing down the routing Pontians. Hope you enjoyed that fight. I think you can see the mistakes that my opponent made there, and let's get to another battle that I had as barbarians. Alright, here is the second battle. It is taking place on the Pripyat Marches in the winter. You can see that we have blizzard conditions. I have 5 units of Archer Warband. I have 5 units of Naked Fanatics, well upgraded. I have 2 units of Barbarian Noble Cav, and then I have a Barbarian Warlord Cavalry. And I have 5 units also of very well upgraded Folksmen. They have gold attack and then 2 chevrons, which gives them a ferocious attack. And you can see them carrying those giant scythe swords. So they're going to be weak in defense, but pack an incredible punch. I was surprised by the army my opponent brought. Not quite the army I was hoping for, but it'll have to do. Now, I did bring this 1 unit of Scythian horse archers. That's why I only brought 5 units of archers, and you'll notice that I'm sticking to the woods too, but of course both of our factions are going to be receiving bonuses for woods and snow, since we're both playing as barbarians. My opponent brought 5 units of Skirmisher Warband. I can't say I understand the purpose of that. I do understand the purpose of these 4 units of Night Raiders. Or did I say 5 units of... he brought 2 units of Skirmisher Warband, sorry. 4 units of Night Raiders, and then 4 units of Chosen Axemen. So his men also have extremely high attack and very low defense, very similar to my own. But because he chose not to bring archers, he's going to suffer a huge detriment at the hands of my, my missile forces. And what he did choose to spend his money on was a crap ton of gold Gothic cavalry. I think this would have been a great idea on the grassy flatlands, but since we're playing on a wooded map, and yeah, just not very smart, because the cavalry suffers a detriment versus infantry in wooded areas. So they're going to be very tough, don't get me wrong. They're not going to be an easy knockout, but they would have been much more effective on a flat map without woods. So seeing my opponent's infantry is most likely weaker than my own, I'm anxious to go ahead and get into an engagement. I'm not going to try and draw my opponent into the woods or pick him apart with archer fire, even though I very well could, and probably should have. But just because of what my opponent brought, I'm going to go ahead and go for the quick engagement. And so here's my Naked Fanatics lining up in the woods, and they're going into Warcry. So they're going to start taunting their opponents. Here's my archers firing away, and I've got my Folksmen on the flanks to help protect from cavalry charges, because they would fare better against cavalry than my regular troops. So here comes the Night Raiders, and let's watch these people get down to business. Night Raiders have a scaring effect, and their axes can pierce armor, but since my guys obviously aren't very armored, that effect is going to be somewhat nil. And his Night Raiders rout quickly because they're not upgraded, and my Naked Fanatics have a very powerful attack as well. And so then he's got his Chosen Swordsman as backup. You can see that he's now going to charge his Gothic Cavalry in as well. Most of my infantry is not very good against cavalry. He did have a couple of units of Berserkers. I sent my Folksmen after them and pretty much shredded them with my archers, but then he charged in this huge mob of Gothic Cav and chased out my Folksmen. So now my archers are on the run. And that's okay, I'm going to let him waste time chasing my archers, and then I'll surround him with my cavalry and some more infantry units. My opponent looks like, I mean, I easily beat his infantry, but now that I'm preoccupied elsewhere, he's charging in his cavalry, and he's going to catch me from the rear, which is really bad. So he's going to cause me a lot of damage here, and my men are heading elsewhere, so he's going to get a lot of kills, whereas if I would have been able to turn my men around, I would have been able to cause a lot of damage to his horses, but instead I'm going to be the one taking a beating there. But here I do catch and destroy several units of his Gothic cavalry, and my general is in this fight as well. You can see my general's flag there, and I have arrows flying in here. So the German general rout, but then my general dies, and but I end up killing the enemy general here in a moment. So at least some of his Gothic cavalry is gone at this point. The remainder of his Gothic cavalry finally got chewed up by my Folksmen. You can see that there was a large battle there.
warlord lies dead.
Yeah, you can see there's a huge number of
and
dead horses there. And so now my opponent is bringing in his last infantry troops that have regrouped. Some of my routing infantry regrouped, and we're going to have the final battle here. These Knight Raiders are coming in charging at my Falksmen, but they're going to rout before they get there. I have Archer Fire trained in on him. And then here's his Chosen Axemen, which again are pretty strong units, but they're going to break easily due to the pressure. And then my opponent goes ahead and admits defeat, seeing that his armies were destroyed. So these battles were a little bit different. I'm not overly happy with the armies that my opponents brought. I wish they would have brought a slightly more well-balanced army. But you get what you get when you play online, and good game to my opponents. I'm glad that they played, and I'm glad that they were willing to pick someone besides Rome, so I really shouldn't complain. Good game to my opponent, Scourge. Hope you enjoyed these online battles.